Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts is the third game in the Banjo-Kazooie series.
At the time we were trying to think how we could bring Banjo up to date, so there was lots of different ideas.
We were going to make a remake of Banjo-Kazooie, so the previous game, but we were actually going to change things about the game as you played.
We got as far as taking Mumbo's Mountain, the first level from Banjo-Kazooie, and all the puzzles and tasks in that level, we would see how we could adapt them.
Conga was going to be kind of aware that you'd already fought him previously and was going to behave differently. We were really concerned that trying to get the message of this is not just a reskin or it's the old game with new graphics. We felt it might be a hard sell and players would expect a brand new game.
Then that changed direction into what became kind of a Banjo versus Grunty idea.
Banjo and Grunty in the same level, trying to do the same task.
Grunty would be controlled by AI and she'd be going around collecting the notes and the jiggies, and so would Banjo.
And she would be in the level also doing stuff, trying to interfere with your progress. It was quite complicated, actually.
The level of complexity of the AI was kind of prohibitive. We could foresee it was going to be really challenging to get the level of AI. So we kind of decided that wasn't for us.
The other thing that had always been people had wanted to do was a game where you could build stuff.
The next idea was looking at kind of how players travel in platform games.
Tim Stamper had the idea of like an interactive Lego set.
How can we make the travelling to the objective as fun as getting to the objective itself?
So we put together a prototype of being able to use these blocks and make different vehicles.
The player was going to make these objects themselves.
And it grew, from there into nuts and bolts.
So the first prototype we did was set in Mumbo's Mountain. Again, we adapted that level to have vehicles in it.
Banjo was there at the start. We didn't have a block car building game and then put Banjo in.
We had to kind of prove that having different vehicle components and being able to put them together to make anything would actually work.
To create an editor where players could build absolutely anything they want to a degree where the players could actually play the game was incredibly difficult.
The biggest challenge was, what's the user interface in doing that? I mean, it could be something that's quite complex.
Trying to get players to understand how to build in 3D space was very difficult.
And that's how the vehicle editor came about. We spent a good amount of time working on that and getting it feeling right.
People have built these monstrous vehicles that were really top heavy and then wonder why they fell over.
And that's how Banjo's wrench came about. The idea that you'd have the wrench and this sort of mysterious tractor beam would come out from the wrench meant that Banjo wouldn't have to actually physically go over and interact with the vehicle on the floor. He could just kind of lift it off the air and it would go into this view where you could then sort of move pieces around.
Firstly, getting an editor powerful enough for players to build what they like, and then secondly, actually making the vehicles fun to play was colossally challenging. But personally, that's what I really enjoyed about that project, that challenge, and then seeing some of the stuff that people actually built was kind of incredible.
Ed and Steve were both looking at how they could update Banjo, and they tried lots of different things out, like making them very high poly versions of them.
And the art style kind of evolved. We tried doing proper high res characters, but we always felt that they kind of lacked the charm that we'd got with the original game and the original characters.
Ed, who had the suggestion of making it look all cuboid, like they were up-resed, low-poly models. So we ended up with these smooth surfaces, smooth edges on Banjo, but still retaining what he originally looked like.
We introduced kind of having this kind of hard-edged look to the character, so things were smoother, but they still had these kind of crisp edges that the original characters had, and that we felt that worked much better. That fitted very well with the kind of the mechanics that were being introduced into the game.
So the look for the world was, because it was going to be a game about construction, we wanted to make it look like everything was constructed. So a good example of that is the farm level, where there's like a big clockwork kind of sky unit, and the clouds are all hanging on rope, and the floor's patchwork and it's all stitched together.
My main job on Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts once we were into production, was designing Showdown Town, which was the hub world, which was probably the part of the game that was most like the previous Banjo games.
A hub world which would have lots of characters in, so we'd actually make it like a living, breathing kind of like Banjo universe.
You couldn't get to every part of the town to begin with. You had to upgrade your tyres to go up steep slopes, and you had to get a spring on the bottom to vault over high obstacles, that kind of thing. So it was quite rigidly structured. So designing the town around that was quite a challenge.
But we wanted it to be kind of like a bustling world, an actual kind of like town where Banjo could go and live.
I'd have to say that Showdown Town is the thing I'm most proud of. I'm very happy with how that turned out. The reaction was pretty mixed at the time. I mean, generally positive.
You could arguably say that Banjo was a little bit ahead of its time with games such as Minecraft.
If you do something different, then fans of the original say, "Oh, you've changed it," so you're never gonna please all the people all the time.
I think modern games will enjoy it. Games like you constructing things or making things. There's been a lot of those games coming out.
The platform genre, which we felt was kind of, it hadn't changed over a large period of time, so we thought we just wanted to try something else, try something new, try and get players to play a new experience.
Well, I think in some small way, we invented Minecraft first, and I'm sure that somebody owes me quite a lot of money. Sorry, I can't say that, can I?
For 90 minutes of video including the story behind Banjo-Kazooie, pick up Rare Replay for Xbox One. Our feature showcase gives you the lowdown, whilst the Rare team will happily tell you which games they couldn't wait to play first. More videos on the way, so like and subscribe. Cheers, me dears.